name is Mona Reno. I'm with the Nevada Women's History Project. Today is Friday, May the 5th, 2017, and we are in Eureka, Nevada to interview Arlene Damele for the John Ben Snow Memorial Trust grant to interview women along Highway 50.
My name's Arlene Weatherford Damele. I was born in Elko, Nevada, at the Elko General Hospital on May 21st, 1941. My father was Willis Hugh Weatherford. My mother, Anna Anita Aldaya. I went to school in Carlin from first grade through first part of the sixth grade. Then my family moved to Elko, and I finished my education there. I graduated from Elko County High School. I have three brothers, all younger than myself. I went to a business college in Berkeley, Armstrong's Business College. I went there until January of '60. My dad had a heart attack. I came home. And I did not like school. I wanted to stay home, and my dad told me if I found a job where I would learn something other than waiting tables, which is nothing wrong with it, but he wanted me to learn something. So I went to work for the recorder's office in Elko. I met my husband the following February. It was a blind date. That morning on my way to work, I was taking a little girl to school. This lady came through the intersection and hit me. Nobody was hurt. My car was not good, but that evening I went with my husband and my girlfriend and his brother to a basketball game in Wells where his brother was playing. That's how I met him.
And what's his name?
Ronald D. Damele. They called him RD, or we called him RD. And
was it love at first sight?
It was. All I ever wanted when I graduated was to get married, fall in love, get married, and have a family. And the frosting on the cake was he was a rancher, and that was it.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 18.
When you met, or when you married?
When we met. And actually I was 19, and when we got married, I was 20. So
and you were still working at the recorder's office?
I was, until we got married. And then we moved to the Willow Creek Ranch. It's just south and east of the JD Ranch on Highway 50.
North or south?
278, I'm sorry, 278.
Okay.
And it's going towards Carlin.
Because for those of us that don't know all the names of the ranches.
Right.
So it's
about 50
west
miles.
Of Eureka?
50 miles northeast of Eureka. Yeah.
And what did you raise there?
They ranched. They raised cattle, and then, of course, they had 3 or 4 different ranches. The home ranch was the JD, the Tonkin Ranch, where 2 of my father-in-law's brothers lived and their families, and then my husband and I lived at Willow Creek.
So it was a family ranching endeavor.
It was.
So you were part of a big extended family.
I was. My husband worked. He worked there. He was the son of one of the owners.
So you got more than just your own family. You got a whole bunch.
Right. Got his uncles and their families, and his brothers. He had 2 brothers, and their families.
And how long did you live out there?
We lived there. We just kind of bounced around a lot from one endeavor to another. We lived there from '61 to 71, then we moved to the Hay Ranch, which was owned by Joe Peretti. We leased that for a year. Then, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. We moved back to the Willow Creek Ranch, lived there a year, and then my husband and his brother, Charles, went into partnership with Dorothy Gallagher on Diamond Valley Feedlot, plus, and then eventually she bought the ranches with some investors. So we worked there until 76, and then we left there and we moved to Eureka.
And during this time, is that when you had your sons?
I did. The first one was born July 28th, 1962. Jimmy James was born April 6th, 1965. Mark, October 17th, 1966. And John, October 18th, 1969.
And your first son named, you call him D2, but...
The oldest boy is D2. My father, because everybody called my husband RD, so he nicknamed him D2, and it stuck. He was just a baby then.
And he's really, what his full name is?
Ronald D. Damele Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So they were pretty close together.
They were. There were 3 years between D2 and Jimmy, and 17 months between Jimmy and Mark, and then 3 years between Mark and John.
Well, you were a very busy woman.
I was on the ranch. In those days, there were no cell phones. There were no telephones. My instructions were, we lived kind of up next to the mountain. My husband piled a bunch of tires with wood underneath and kindling. If I had an emergency, and I had no car, we only had one vehicle, and so I was to light that on fire, and they would see that down at the home ranch, and then they would come. Somebody would come.
That's excellent to have an emergency plan.
Yeah. But like I said, there was no communication unless you could get in a vehicle and travel. And it was maybe, I don't know, 12, 15 miles maybe to the other ranch. Maybe not that far. I don't know, to the JD, the home ranch.
Did you ever have to light the tires?
No, never did.
Oh, that's good.
By the time the boys were big enough to get into trouble and have accidents, we had another vehicle that was left there that I could take them, which happened. I did have to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell me what a rancher's wife does, in addition to raising 4 young boys. What did you do?
I didn't do any ranch work like the ladies do now. Mine was homemaker, mostly taking care of the kids. We had a small garden.
So you canned things and...
I did canning. I learned from my mother-in-law about canning. I did some cooking when I was home before I got married. I liked to cook, and so it was, I didn't go out and ride horses. I didn't hay. I didn't pack my kids with me to do. I would run errands or go to town and do things for them, get parts and that kind of stuff, yes. But as far as the everyday labor work on a ranch, I didn't do that. I cooked, cleaned the house, and took care of the kids. And
yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, that's a great job.
And the mothers nowadays, probably most of them have to work to make ends meet, and I feel sorry that they can't be at home with their kids, especially in their formative years, in the early years, because I did have that luxury to be there with them.
And then when they started going to school,
we moved to Elko. There was doctors there all the time. I would be by myself just with the children. They were prone to be boys, and so we figured that be the best place. When the weather was good, we would leave early Monday morning, and then as soon as they got out of school on Friday, we would come back to the ranch. If the weather was bad, we would leave Sunday evening when it was still daylight, and then again come home. We had a few head of sheep at the ranch. They were my project, something I wanted, and when we had one, her name was Nanny, and she was, her mother died, so we packed her back and forth in the back of a Volkswagen bus to Elko, put a dog chain and dog collar on her, and put her underneath the trailer at night so nothing would get her, and in the day she would come out and eat the green grass around the trailer. So that was part of the kids and their chores that they would do.
And so when you say you left Elko to the ranch, how many miles again was that? Every weekend?
Every weekend, yeah.
You said about 50?
No, it was 50 miles from Eureka to the JD, but from Elko it was, let's say, 25 to Carlin, and then maybe 70 miles. Maybe 70 miles or so.
And the 20 are paved and the 70's not. Is that right?
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. 278 was paved, but once you left 278, it was dirt.
Yeah. Did you ever have any adventures on that trip?
Once when I was taking one of the boys, I can't remember what the accident was. I think he was climbing on the pig pen and slipped and cut his face on the barbed wire. So I took him and the boys, and we had a flat tire on the summit right out of Carlin. But a fellow that R.D. knew and went to school with stopped by and helped me change it. So that was good.
Yeah, that was
I could change the tire by myself, but I welcomed the help.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so then when did you go to work at the bank?
At the bank, I went to work, I retired in 96, June of 96, 11 years, 85 probably.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't...
I went to work because my husband, the mine where he was working, closed down. He didn't have a job. With the boys, we definitely needed insurance. So they had just lost a person at the bank, so I interviewed and I got the job.
There's a gap in there that I don't know. When did he stop, you stop ranching and when did he go to work at the mine? What was that about?
That was when they sold Liberty and the ranches.
So there was a transition in there. You were talking that you were ranchers, and then you had just mentioned your husband went to work for a mine. Can you tell us what happened there?
We left Willow Creek the second time and went to Diamond Valley. And we lived at Liberty Livestock for two and a half years. At the end of that time, the ranches and Liberty Livestock, which was a feedlot, sold. So we moved into Eureka, and that's when my husband got a job at the Windfall mine. And I went to work part-time at the courthouse in the recorder's office, recording documents, and eventually ran the computer, did the payroll, and the vendors paid the bills. And then my husband worked up there, and then from there he worked for Pete Galley, and he was in California, and that shut down, that mine. Then he didn't have a job, so that's when I went to work for the bank. That would have been 84 or 85. And I worked at the bank 11 years.
And it had a different name at the beginning.
It was First Interstate Bank when I worked for it, and then it was sold to Wells Fargo. At that time, I retired. They gave all their employees who had a certain amount of time, they could retire, and I did. I was a teller at the bank, took deposits, cashed checks, interacted with the customers, and that's what I liked. I didn't want to be anything else. I didn't want to be an operations officer or anything like that. I just wanted to be the teller. And I retired in '96. My husband had had a heart attack in '91, and I worked until I got the offer to retire, or as did all the employees. So I took it so I could spend some time. You get up in age, and time is precious, and you don't know how much you have. So.
And so he survived his heart attack.
He did. He did. He passed away in 2013. Lived a very full life. That's when the grandchildren started coming. He really appreciated and enjoyed life after that. Yeah. So,
did you travel?
No. Travel to doctors. That was it. No, we didn't travel. I took care, when I retired from the bank, I took care of the grandkids because the wives were teachers, and one was an appraiser for the county. So I took care of the kids, and then they reimbursed me. So
it sounds like your family, your boys and their families all stayed local?
They did. The youngest one, John, went to college at UNLV, became a teacher. His first job was in Smith Valley. So he is the only one that does not live here, the youngest.
It sounds like, and when we first started visiting, you said that your goal was to fall in love and get married and have family, and you accomplished that.
I have. I have lived a good life. It's been work. I don't shy away from it. I'm not as agile or can go as long as I used to, but I still get out there and do it. I don't put limitations as what I can't do. It's, my son said, it's what you can do.
Yeah. So you live in town now?
I do live in town.
And did you have a philosophy in life, your personal philosophy that you live by that made it possible to get through those hard times?
Just work hard, and I had my husband beside me, and we were best friends, so it was good.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to add that we haven't talked about?
No, I just, the grandkids, I'd like to tell them, don't settle. Don't settle for something that isn't what you want, just because you think that that's all you're going to get, because it's not. So go after what you want, and don't ever settle for anything less. That's all.
All right.
I got what I wanted. I couldn't have planned my life any better, so I'm happy. I'm living a good life.
Right.
I was really lucky to live in Eureka when we were raising our children. They could ride their bicycles around town, up to Little League practice, to the swimming pool. They didn't take them to school, but they could walk to school. You didn't have to drive them. They had the new high school, and yeah, it was a good life. You could send them to the grocery store for a loaf of bread. It was just right down the hill. So we had a doctor here, sometimes a PA. The clinic was just built. So we had everything that we needed. Yeah, it was a good time.
So living on Highway 50, since that's sort of what we're That's what our grant is about.
Mhm.
Was there something about these open spaces that helped?
Really, just the kids could roam. We had chickens in the backyard. We built a chicken coop and a fenced area that we could have chickens. The kids had ponies, Shetland ponies. They got a pony cart for Christmas. They would hook it up and they would go around. Now, the first time they hooked it up to I think it was a burro, and I wouldn't let him get in it, the pony cart, until we knew how he was going to react. We went up behind the house. There was nothing built up there then. The burro took off 100 miles an hour, and the boy tried to hang on to the reins, and finally he had to let them go. The burro got tired about halfway up the hill, and then the boys could go get him, but I was happy that I didn't let them get in. But you could do that in town, and probably places in town you can do that now. I don't know. It just was more open, more free. The kids were really comfortable in their surroundings. We raised good boys. They're good boys.
Right. Well, thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us, and we're very happy to have got to meet you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, but I did.
All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you.